Let me begin by saying that fortunately, in India are communities of people of African descent. And all these people go to school just like other Indians. They wrestle with the rough and tumble issues of life in India. They wear the outfits of Indians, eat what other Indians eat. However, when it comes to relating to them, we discover that there are differences. Why do people treat people of African descent differently? And this is where we can begin by saying that, one, the systems that we use in classifying ourselves and other people can either make us value the people and their contribution or see them as outsiders. Unfortunately, the experiences that have been recorded in newspapers, on television, and in writing by other people, including Professor Modi, is that communities of Africans tend to experience forms of violence. And the forms of violence that they encounter are not just due to the fact that they are outsiders, but because it seems within the Indian consciousness, preference among some people for the lighter skinned people is greater than how they regard people of the darker hue. This can be challenged or can be contested. Further, it was W.E.B. Du Bois that said that unfortunately, although there is no meaning to the word race, that concept has been used over the years to separate some people from others. But how do we do this? It is because you observe their complexion, the texture of their hair, their mannerisms, and the musical instruments that they use, such as you can see now. The gumat, for instance, are used by the Siddhis in Karnataka, and when others encounter people using these, all they can tell is these people are different from us. Why is this also important? It is important because, as the great scholar Stuart Hall has said, if you divide people into groups, there is nothing wrong with that, because valuing heights, speed, beauty, there is nothing wrong with that. But the very moment you attribute certain qualities to height, to the hue of the skin, then you run into problem. What seems to be happening in present day India, in parts of India, is that people pay attention to who is brown, who is darker skinned, who is lighter skinned, who is like me, who is not like me. So as soon as such differences begin to matter to people, they regard those people that have been classified as outsiders as less than human. Unfortunately, this is what can lead to forms of violence. It's also the anthropologists Mary Douglas, who has argued that if you want to treat dirt, that is rubbish, then you go to a garden because it belongs there. But the very moment you see rubbish or dirt in a bedroom, what you do is that you sweep it, you clean it, you draw a boundary between it and where you want to regard something as being pure. Again, unfortunately, this whole notion of regarding some people as not belonging takes on the metaphoric nature of people of African descent in some communities. And so, in the perspective of Mary Douglas, some Africans are regarded as groups of people that need to be swept, cleaned, removed from where they are found. Further, we also discover that there are some people in the subcontinent of India that regard the resources that are available to them as being limited. So it does not matter whether some descendants of Africans are diplomats, engineers, scientists, and are contributing immensely to the well-being of the larger society. Those people that are classified based on the texture of their hair or the externals are considered as outsiders. As has been mentioned earlier by Sir Chandra, descendants of Africans have been part of the continent, the subcontinent of India for over 800 years. There were military people, there were statespeople, there were navigators, there were merchants, there were artists, there were architects on the subcontinent of India. But after 47 independence, what happened was that if you take Hyderabad, where there were those that were serving as military people to support all those that considered them as valuable, their importance or their roles began to diminish. And then when you move to Gujarat and then Karnataka, you discover that the Siddhis, those that have been in India for over 800 years, have lost their prestige, their regard, or the kind of value that other people had given them when their forebears were playing roles as statespeople or soldiers or artisans and the others. So where do we go from there? Because it's not enough to look only at what is negative. What is happening is that there are some people of African descent, including recent immigrants, that are marrying into the Indian society. There are Indians that are therefore marrying Africans, whether they are the recent African immigrants or there are Siddhis. It is in such close cortex, it is in such interpersonal relationship, it is in such fellow feeling context that the humanity of descendants of Africans is being stressed among such close quarters. In terms of the violence that is being committed, as I said earlier, although it's written about, I think we can move forward. How? We can move forward by being responsible and accountable to the humanity of other people, regardless of what they look, regardless of whether they are fast, regardless of their height. And this is where I hope we will be able to travel as a people, because we will then begin to stress our common humanity.